Welcome to this Divine Slumber Bible bedtime story. Before anything else, allow yourself to settle gently into this moment. Feel the quiet of the room around you, the soft weight of your blanket, the calm stillness that begins to wrap itself around your thoughts like a warm, familiar embrace. The world outside can wait. The noise, the worries, the unfinished thoughts, they can drift away like distant echoes fading into the night. Breathe slowly now, in and out. Let each breath come softer than the last. Tonight, we are not rushing anywhere. We are simply resting and listening. There is a kind of peace that comes when we remember that we are not alone in the unfolding of history, that beyond everything we see, beyond every fear we carry, there is a plan, steady, unshaken, eternal. A plan held gently, yet firmly, in the hands of God. And tonight, we step into one of the most mysterious and awe-inspiring parts of that plan. A story whispered across centuries. A story of two men who never tasted death. Two men who walked so closely with God that the boundaries between earth and heaven seemed to dissolve around them. One taken quietly, almost like a breath fading into light. The other carried away in fire and wind, before the eyes of those who stood in wonder. Their names are Enoch and Elijah. Men of faith in times of darkness, voices of truth in worlds that had forgotten how to listen. And though their time on earth seemed to end long ago, their story did not. Because the scriptures tell us something astonishing, that one day they will return. Not as symbols, not as distant memories, but as living witnesses, stepping once more into the story of humanity, at a time when the world will need truth more than ever before. And yet, this is not a story meant to stir fear. It is a story meant to bring rest, because even in the darkest prophecies, even in the final chapters of human history, we are reminded of something unchanging. God has never lost control, not once, not ever. Every moment, every rise and fall, every hidden thread of time is held within His perfect design. So as this story unfolds tonight, let it not trouble your heart, but quiet it. Let it remind you that you are safe, that you are seen, that even now, in the stillness of this night, God is watching over you with a care deeper than you can imagine. And as you listen, allow your thoughts to slow, your body to soften, your spirit to rest. Because this is not just a story of prophecy, it is a story of faithfulness, of promises kept, of light that never fades, no matter how deep the darkness becomes. So, stay here, gently, peacefully. In this very moment, open your heart and receive the peace that is coming. I invite you now to make yourself completely comfortable. Gently adjust your pillows. Soften the place beneath your head. Pull your blanket a little closer, just enough to feel its quiet warmth resting over you. If there is any light in the room, you may dim it or let it fade into darkness, allowing the night to become a gentle shelter around you. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go, nothing left to accomplish. 1. This moment is yours. A quiet space, set apart. Breathe slowly now, in and out. Feel the air enter softly through your nose, filling your lungs without effort. And then release it, gently, completely, as though you are letting go of something you no longer need. Again, breathe in, slow and deep, and out, even slower this time. Nod. Let your breathing become a rhythm. Steady, calm, unhurried. Like waves touching the shore in the stillness of night. As you continue to breathe, begin to notice your body, not with tension, not with judgment, but with a quiet awareness. Feel the top of your head, the small muscles around your forehead, your eyes, your temples, and allow them to soften. Let your eyelids grow heavy, as though they are gently resting, supported by something deeper than effort. There is no need to hold them open. Just let them rest. Now, feel your jaw. If there is any tightness there, allow it to loosen. Let your tongue rest naturally. Let your teeth separate slightly. Breathe slowly now. Let that softness move down into your neck, your shoulders, and notice if you have been carrying anything there. Any weight, any strain, any quiet tension gathered from the day. You do not need to hold it anymore. With your next breath out, release it. Let your shoulders sink, just a little deeper, as though the bed beneath you is gently receiving that weight. You are safe here. God is watching over you, even in this quiet moment, even in the stillness you may not always notice. Now, bring your attention to your arms. Feel them resting, heavy, supported, from your upper arms to your elbows, down into your forearms, your wrists, your hands. Let your fingers curl naturally. No effort, no control, just rest. If there is any lingering tension, imagine it slowly dissolving, like mist fading under the morning light. Softly, quietly, completely. Breathe in and out. Let that same gentle awareness move into your chest. Feel the rise and fall of your breath, the steady rhythm that has carried you through every moment of your life without asking anything in return. Your heart continues to beat, faithfully, quietly. A reminder that life itself is being sustained, even now, without your striving. You are being held in ways you cannot always see. Let your breathing deepen just slightly. Not forced, just natural. Click, and like a slow unfolding. Now feel your back, the place where your body meets the bed. Every point of contact, every place where you are supported. Allow yourself to sink into that support. Trust it. Release into it. Girl, there is nothing beneath you that will give way. You are held. Breathe slowly now. Let your attention move down into your abdomen. Soften it. Allow it to rise gently as you breathe in, and fall without resistance as you breathe out. There is no need to hold anything in. No need to brace. Just let go. Now your hips, your thighs, feel the weight of them. The natural heaviness that comes when muscles no longer need to stay alert. Let that heaviness deepen, like sinking into a calm, quiet stillness. Your knees, your calves, all the way down to your ankles. And finally, your feet. Let your feet relax completely. Toes soft. No tension, no effort. Your entire body now resting, supported, at ease. Breathe slowly now. In and out. And as your body grows still, your mind may begin to quiet as well. Thoughts may still come, like distant whispers, but you do not need to follow them. Let them pass, like clouds drifting across a dark, open sky. You do not need to hold on to any of them. You are safe. You are at rest. You are not alone. God is watching over you. His presence gentle, constant, unchanging, like a quiet light that never fades, even now, in the stillness. He is near. Rest here for a moment. Feel the calm settling deeper. like soft layers of peace unfolding within you. One breath at a time. Breathe slowly now. With every breath out, let go a little more of the day, of the noise, of anything that feels heavy. With every breath in, receive calm, receive stillness, receive peace. You are safe. You are held. You are watched over. And there is nothing more you need to do except rest. Breathe slowly now. Let your breath become soft, unhurried, like a quiet rhythm that carries you gently inward. And as your body rests more deeply, allow your mind to drift back, far beyond the noise of today, far beyond the weight of your thoughts, into a time so distant it feels almost like a dream, a world untouched by everything we know, and yet filled with something familiar, the quiet longing of the human heart searching for God. In those ancient days, the earth was wide and restless, filled with movement, with voices, with the steady rise of human ambition stretching across valleys and plains. People built, they gathered, they reached outward, always outward, seeking meaning in what they could create, what they could hold, what they could control. And yet beneath it all, there was a quiet emptiness growing, like a shadow no one wanted to see, a slow forgetting of the one who had given them life. The world had already begun to drift, not all at once, not in a single moment, but step by step, heart by heart, moving further away from the presence that had once walked with humanity in the garden. And as that distance grew, so did the darkness. Violence spread like an unseen current beneath the surface. Corruption took root in thoughts and desires, and the earth, though full of people, began to feel strangely alone. And yet, in the midst of that vast and wandering world, there was one man whose life followed a different path, a quieter path, a path not shaped by the noise around him, but by something deeper, something unseen, something eternal. His name was Enoch. We are not told about his home, or his daily work, or the details that the world often measures as important. Instead, we are given something far more profound, something simple, yet filled with meaning that stretches far beyond words. Enoch walked with God. Let that settle gently in your mind. He walked with God, not once, not for a moment, not only in times of need, but continually, day after day, step after step, breath after breath. He lived his life in quiet companionship with the Creator. Imagine what that must have felt like, to move through each moment with an awareness that you are not alone, that every step is seen, every thought known, every silence filled with presence, not a distant presence, but one that walks beside you, steady, patient, constant. Breathe slowly now. While others hurried through their days, chasing after fleeting things, Enoch slowed. He listened. He turned his heart toward something greater, something beyond what could be touched or held. And in that turning, he found God, not in noise, not in spectacle, but in stillness, in nearness. Perhaps in the quiet of early morning, before the world stirred, he would pause, feeling the soft light rising across the land, and in that silence, he would sense it, that gentle presence, like a whisper that does not need words, like a peace that does not need explanation. And he stayed there, not just in moments, but in a way of living, carrying that awareness into every part of his life. There, he walked with God, even as the world around him grew darker, even as voices became louder and hearts more distant. He did not follow. He did not lose himself in the drift. Instead, he remained, steady, anchored, walking a path that few could see, but one that led somewhere eternal. There is something deeply calming in this, something that invites your own heart to slow, because it reminds you that closeness with God is not found in striving, not in perfection, but in presence, in the quiet. Choice to stay, to listen, to walk. Breathe in, slowly, and out. Some ancient whispers say that Enoch was shown mysteries, glimpses of heaven, of stars moving in perfect order, of realms filled with light beyond human understanding. But even without those visions, we know this. His life was different, not because of what he saw, but because of how he walked. He walked with God, and in that walking, he pleased him. Not through greatness as the world defines it, not through power or recognition, but through something gentle, something constant, a heart turned toward its Creator, again and again, without turning away. And then, one day, as quietly as his life had been lived, something changed. There was no warning, no gathering of people, no final moment marked by ceremony, just a step like any other, a breath like any other, and then something beyond understanding. He was no longer there. The words are simple, almost like a whisper themselves. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. He was not. No struggle, no fading, no shadow of death, only a quiet transition, as though the boundary between earth and heaven opened gently, and he stepped through. Imagine that moment, not as something sudden or frightening, but as something soft, like moving from one room into another, from dim light into something brighter, from weight into freedom, from distance into fullness. Perhaps there was no fear, only recognition, as though he had been walking toward that presence all along. And now, he had arrived. Breathe slowly now. In a world where everything seems to end, where time moves forward and nothing can be held forever, Enoch's story offers something different, something steady, something deeply reassuring, that there is a life beyond what we see, a presence beyond what we understand, and a faithfulness that is never overlooked. God saw him, God knew him, and God took him. Not because he was the strongest, not because he was the most visible, but because he walked faithfully, quietly, continually with him. And even now, beyond the reach of time, beyond the limits of this world, there is a sense that Enoch remains alive, held within that eternal presence, at peace, at rest, waiting in the unfolding story that God alone holds. Rest here for a moment. Let that image stay with you. A quiet path, steady steps, a gentle presence walking beside you. Breathe slowly now, in and out. And as you rest, remember this: you are not alone in your own journey, not in your thoughts, not in your silence, not even in the unseen places of your heart. The same God who walked with Enoch walks still, softly, quietly, faithfully. And even now, he is near. Breathe slowly now. Let your breath remain soft and steady. And as your body continues to rest, allow your mind to drift once more, forward through time, from the quiet, ancient world of Enoch into another age, an age of kings and kingdoms, of conflict and divided hearts, a land that had once known the voice of God, but had slowly begun to forget. The land was Israel, a land chosen, a people called, a covenant, once held close, and yet now something had changed. The memory of miracles had grown distant. The stories of deliverance had become faint echoes. And, in their place, new voices had risen. Voices that spoke of other gods. Easier gods. Quieter gods. Gods that asked less and gave nothing in return. The people followed. Not all at once, but slowly. Gently at first. Like a river changing course, until what was once clear became clouded, and what was once holy became divided. A king sat on the throne. His name was Ahab, and, beside him, a queen whose presence carried a different kind of fire, not the fire of heaven, but the fire of deception. Her name was Jezebel, and with her came the worship of Baal, a god of storms, a god of power, a god made by human hands, yet feared, as if he were real. Altars were built, not to the Lord, but to idols. Voices once raised in prayer were now lifted to silence. And the prophets of God, one by one, the land grew quiet, not the peaceful quiet of rest, but the heavy quiet of absence, like a sky that holds no stars. And then, without warning, a man appeared. No introduction, no lineage, no preparation given, just a presence, sudden and unshakable, like lightning across a dark sky. His name was Elijah. Breathe slowly now. He stood before the king, not with hesitation, not with fear, but with a stillness that came from somewhere deeper than courage. A stillness rooted in certainty, and his words were few, but they carried weight. As the Lord lives, there shall be no rain, except by my word. And then he was gone. No argument, no negotiation, just truth spoken and silence following. Days passed, then weeks, then months, and the sky remained closed. No rain fell, no dew formed. The Alard hardened, cracked beneath the weight of drought. Rivers thinned, fields withered, and the people began to feel the slow, creeping edge of desperation. But Elijah was nowhere to be found. God had hidden him, not in palaces, not in places of safety as the world understands it, but in quiet, unseen places, by a small brook where water still flowed, and where ravens, unlikely messengers, brought him food, morning and evening, again and again. A reminder that provision does not always come in expected ways. Breathe in, slowly, and out. When the brook dried, as all earthly things eventually do, Elijah was led elsewhere, not to abundance, but to a small home. A widow with almost nothing left, a handful of flour, a little oil. Enough for one final meal. And yet, in that place of lack, something miraculous unfolded. The jar did not empty. The oil did not run dry. Day after day, just enough, always enough. A quiet miracle, steady, faithful, like the presence of God itself. And even when loss came, when the widow's son fell still, when breath left his body, Elijah did not turn away. He remained. He prayed. He stretched himself over the child, again and again. And again, until life returned. Not through noise, not through spectacle, but through persistence, through faith, through trust, in the one who gives life. Breathe slowly now. But Elijah was not meant to remain hidden forever. There comes a moment in every story when quiet preparation gives way to open confrontation, when truth must stand in the light, no longer hidden. That moment came on a mountain, Mount Carmel. The people gathered, the king watching, the prophets of Baal standing in numbers, confident, certain, and Elijah alone, one man against many. And yet, not alone. He stepped forward, his voice calm, steady, carrying not anger, but clarity. How long will you waver between two paths? If the Lord is God, follow him. If Baal, then follow him. Silence answered. The people did not respond because their hearts were divided, and a divided heart cannot speak clearly. So Elijah predlogial a test. Simple, undeniable. 2 altars, 2 sacrifices, no fire. The God who answers will be known. The prophets of Baal began first, their voices rising, calling, pleading, shouting into the sky, from morning until noon, dancing, striving, even wounding themselves, desperate for an answer that would not come. No voice, no fire, no response, only silence. Then Elijah stepped forward. He rebuilt the altar, stone by stone, restoring what had been broken, a quiet act, yet deeply meaningful, as though he were not only building an altar, but calling the people back, piece by piece, to something they had forgotten. He placed the offering, and then he did something unexpected. He poured water, once, twice, again, until everything was soaked, until even the ground held water. There would be no doubt. Breathe slowly now. Then he prayed, not loudly, not dramatically, but simply, clearly, as one speaking to a presence already near. And the fire came, not gradually, not uncertainly, but suddenly, powerfully, consuming everything, the offering, the wood, the stones, even the water. Nothing remained. The people fell. The Lord, He is God. For a moment, truth was clear, again. But the story did not end there. Because even after fire falls, even after victory, the human heart can still tremble. Jezebel sent a message, a threat, and Elijah, the prophet of fire, ran into the wilderness, alone, tired, overwhelmed. He sat beneath a tree, and for the first time, his strength faltered. It is enough. Breathe slowly now. There is something deeply human in this moment, something gentle, something real, because even those who stand in great strength can feel the weight of exhaustion, can feel the silence after the storm. But God did not leave him there. Food was given, rest was allowed, and then, gently, Elijah was called forward again, to a mountain, not for fire this time, not for power, but for something quieter. A wind came, strong enough to break rocks, but God was not in the wind. An earthquake, but God was not there. A fire, but still not there. And then a whisper, a still, small voice. And in that quiet, Elijah covered his face and listened, because sometimes the presence of God is not found in the fire, but in the stillness that follows. Breathe slowly now. And when the time came, when his journey on earth had reached its end, it did not end in death. As he walked, speaking, moving forward, something extraordinary unfolded. Chariots of fire, horses of flame, a whirlwind rising, and Elijah, lifted, carried, taken into heaven, taken into heaven. Not lost, not gone, but taken, like Enoch before him. He did not taste death, and even now, beyond what we can see, there is a sense that he remains, alive, held in that same eternal presence, waiting, as part of a story, still unfolding. Rest here for a moment. Feel the quiet strength of that life, the fire, the stillness, the faith that remained even in weakness. Breathe slowly now, and remember, the God who answered by fire, the God who spoke in a whisper, is still the same, still present, still near, still watching over you, even now, in the quiet of this moment. Breathe slowly now. Let your breath remain steady, soft, unhurried, and, as your body rests more deeply, allow your mind to gather the threads of the story, the quiet path of Enoch, the burning fire of Elijah, two lives separated by centuries, by worlds that no longer resemble one another. And yet, beneath all of that distance, there is a connection, something woven, carefully, intentionally, by the hand of God. Two men, two journeys, two witnesses. Let that settle gently within you. One walked in the earliest days, before the flood, before the law, before nations rose and fell. A man who moved through a broken world with quiet faith. Enoch, whose life was marked not by noise, but by nearness, not by power, but by presence. He walked with God and was taken, too. The other stood in a divided kingdom, where truth had been traded for idols, where fire fell from heaven to awaken a sleeping people. Elijah, a man of boldness, of confrontation, of flame and wind, and, yet also, a man who listened for the whisper, and he too was taken. Two lives, so different, and yet, they share something no one else, in all of history, shares in the same way. They did not die. Breathe slowly now. There is a pattern written into the world, quiet, unchanging, a rhythm that every living thing follows. Life, and then death, from the first breath to the final one. Every human story seems to move toward that same ending. Kings and shepherds, the strong and the weak, all passing through the same doorway. And yet, for reasons not fully explained, not fully revealed, God chose to step into that pattern and gently, deliberately, set it aside, just twice, for Enoch and for Elijah. Not because they escaped, not because they overcame death by their own strength, but because they were held, preserved, kept, are back, as though their story was not yet finished. Rest here for a moment. Let that thought settle, like a quiet ripple across still water. Because when we look deeper, beyond the surface, we begin to see that their lives are not only about the past, they are also pointing forward, toward something yet to come, something written in prophecy, something waiting, even now. Breathe slowly now. Enoch walked in a time when there were no written laws, no commandments carved in stone, no temple, no structure to guide the human heart. Only the quiet voice of God, speaking inwardly, softly, and those who listened were guided by that unseen truth. He represents something pure, something simple, faith without form, trust without structure, a heart turned toward God without needing anything else. Elijah came later, In a time when the law had been given, when the people had been chosen, when truth had been spoken clearly, and yet forgotten. He stood as a voice, calling them back, restoring what had been broken, reminding them of the covenant they had abandoned. He represents the law, the prophets, the call to return. Two paths, two expressions, one truth, and together they form something complete. Breathe in, slowly, and out. It is as though God, in His quiet wisdom, chose these two men, not only for who they were, but for what they represent. One from before the law, one from within it, one walking in quiet faith, one standing in visible power, one listening, one proclaiming, and both faithful, and both taken. But why? Why preserve them when all others have passed through death? The answer is not spoken directly, not laid out in clear explanation, but it is there, hidden like a gentle thread running through the pages of Scripture, waiting to be seen. Because there is a moment still to come, a time not yet fulfilled, a chapter of the story that has not yet unfolded, and in that moment, the world will need witnesses. Not many voices, not confusion, but clarity. Two voices. Breathe slowly now. There is an ancient law, simple but important, that truth must be established by two witnesses, not one, but two, because one voice can be ignored, dismissed, silenced, but two, standing together, speaking the same truth, carry a weight that cannot easily be denied. And so, when the final days begin, when the world drifts into its deepest darkness, when truth becomes something unwanted, something resisted, something feared, God will not remain silent. He will send witnesses. Two. And many believe those two are Enoch and Elijah, the two who never died, the two who were taken, the two whose stories remain unfinished. Breathe slowly now. Imagine that moment, not with fear, but with quiet awareness. A world restless, searching, filled with noise and confusion. And into that world, two figures appear, not as myths, not as symbols, but as real, living, present. They will stand just as they once stood. They will speak just as they once spoke. They will call just as they once called, not to condemn, but to awaken. Not to destroy, but to invite. Their message will not be new. It will be the same message that has echoed from the beginning, the same truth spoken through generations, the same call that Enoch whispered and Elijah declared. Return. Turn back. Remember, because even in the final chapter, God's desire is not destruction, but restoration. Breathe slowly now, and yet the world will not welcome them. Because truth, when it shines into darkness, can feel uncomfortable, even painful, and many will turn away, not because they do not hear, but because they do not want to listen. Still, the witnesses will remain, steady, unwavering, not because they are strong in themselves, but because they are sent. And when their time is complete, when every word has been spoken, when every moment has unfolded exactly as it was meant to, their story will reach a turning point, a moment that will seem like defeat, but is not the end. Because just as they were taken, just as they were preserved, their story will move beyond what the world expects, beyond what the eye can see. And in that, there is something deeply comforting, because it reminds us, gently, quietly, that even when things appear to end, even when darkness seems to close in, even when silence follows the voice, the story is never truly over. God is still writing. Rest here for a moment. Let the image of the two witnesses remain, not as figures of fear, but as reminders of faithfulness, of purpose, of a plan that stretches beyond time. Breathe slowly now, in and out. And remember, just as Enoch walked with God, just as Elijah stood for him, their story continues because God's work continues. And even now, in your own quiet moment, in your own stillness, you are part of that same unfolding story, held, seen, never forgotten, and never alone. Breathe slowly now. Let your breath settle into a calm and gentle rhythm, and as your body grows heavier, more at rest, allow your mind to move softly into another moment in the story. A moment not filled with fire, not filled with thunder, but with something quieter, something almost easy to miss. A voice, the last voice, before a long and waiting silence. The voice of a prophet. His name was Malachi. Let that name rest lightly in your thoughts, not loud, not urgent, but steady, like the final note of a song that lingers in the air long after it has been played. Because Malachi stood at the edge of something significant, not at the beginning, but at the closing of an era, the end of a long line of voices that had spoken for God, calling, warning. Now, inviting, reminding, and after him, there would be silence. Breathe slowly now. Imagine the world in those days. The people had returned from exile. The city of Jerusalem stood once more, its walls rebuilt, its temple restored. The outward signs of faith had returned. The rituals, the offerings, the gatherings, everything looked almost right. And yet, beneath the surface, something was missing. The fire had grown dim. The devotion that once burned brightly had become routine, familiar, almost mechanical. Words spoken without weight, actions performed without heart, and slowly, quietly, the people began to drift. Again, not into open rebellion, but into something more subtle, indifference. A distance, not loud, but real. And into that quiet distance, Malachi spoke. Not with spectacle, not with overwhelming force, but with clarity, with truth, with a voice that carried both warning and hope. He spoke of hearts that had grown cold, of worship that had become empty, of a people who honored God with their lips, but whose hearts had wandered far. And yet, even in correction, there was gentleness, because beneath every word, there was a desire, not to condemn, but to restore. Breathe in, slowly, and out. Malachi reminded them that God had not changed, that his love remained, steady, unwavering, even when theirs had faltered. And then, as his message began to draw toward its close, as the final words approached, something remarkable happened. He spoke of the future, not a distant, unclear future, but something specific, something promised, something that would come before the great and final day of the Lord. And his words were simple, yet filled with meaning that would echo across centuries. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the great and awesome day of the Lord comes. Let that settle gently. Elijah, not a symbol, Not an idea, but Elijah, the very same prophet, the one who stood on Mount Carmel, the one who called down fire from heaven, the one who was taken in a whirlwind, alive. God would send him again. Breathe slowly now. For the people who first heard these words, this was not a mystery. It was a promise, a hope, something to hold on to, especially in a time when the voice of God was about to fall silent. Because after Malachi, there would be no more prophets. No new messages, no visions, no voices rising from the hills, only waiting. 400 years of silence. Imagine that. A generation passes, then another and another. Stories are told, scriptures are read, but no new word comes. No fresh voice breaks the stillness. Only the memory of what was, and the memory, then, the hope of what was promised. And in that long silence, the words of Malachi remained, like a quiet light that refused to fade. I will send Elijah. Breathe slowly now. And with that promise came a purpose. Elijah would come to prepare, to restore, to turn hearts back again, not just outwardly, but inwardly, deeply, where true change begins. He will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers. A restoration, not only of faith, but of relationship, of connection, of what had been broken and divided. Because when hearts return to God, they also return to one another. Rest here for a moment. Feel the gentleness of that promise, not a message of fear, but of return, of healing, of things being made right again. Breathe slowly now. And as time moved forward, as those 400 years passed in silence, the question remained, when would Elijah come? Many watched, many waited. Some looked to the skies, others to the wilderness, wondering when the promise would unfold. And then a voice appeared. A man in the desert, clothed simply, speaking with urgency, calling people to repentance, to prepare, to turn back. Some thought, perhaps this is him. Perhaps Elijah has returned. But even then, the mystery remained, because the story was unfolding in layers, slowly, gently, revealing itself, piece by piece. Because the promise of Malachi was not only for one moment, but for two, a near fulfillment and a future one. Breathe in and out. One voice would come in the spirit of Elijah, carrying the same fire, the same boldness, the same call to repentance, preparing the way for something greater. And yet, the promise itself, the full promise, remained, still waiting, still pointing forward, toward a time not yet complete. Because the great and awesome day of the Lord had not yet come. And so, Elijah still waits, just as Enoch waits. 2 lives, preserved, held beyond time, part of a plan that continues to unfold, quietly, steadily, according to a purpose that cannot be shaken. Breathe slowly now. There is something deeply calming in this, something that settles the heart, because it reminds us that nothing is forgotten. No promise is lost. No word spoken by God ever fades away. Even across centuries, even through silence, what has been spoken remains and will be fulfilled. Rest here for a moment. Let that truth sink gently into your thoughts. That God's timing, though often unseen, is always perfect. that his plans, though sometimes hidden, are always moving forward. Breathe slowly now, and, as you rest, allow the weight of waiting to soften. Because you are not waiting alone. You are not holding the future in your own hands. The same God who spoke through Malachi, the same God who promised Elijah, the same God who holds the unfolding of time itself. He is still present, still near, still guiding every moment, even this one. And in that quiet assurance, you can rest deeply, peacefully, knowing that every promise in its time will come to light. Breathe slowly now. Let your breath remain soft, steady, like a quiet tide moving in and out. And as your body sinks deeper into rest, allow your mind to drift gently forward into a vision, not of the past this time, but of something yet to come, something written long ago, yet still waiting to unfold. A vision given in silence, on a lonely island, to a man who had seen much and endured more. His name was John, and what he saw was not only for his time, but for all time, especially the final chapter, where light and darkness stand face to face. Breathe slowly now. In this vision, the world is no longer quiet. It is restless, filled with movement, with voices rising from every nation, every language, every corner of the earth. And yet beneath all of that noise, there is a tension, something building, something waiting. And in the midst of that, God speaks, not to the crowds, not to the rulers, but about two men, two witnesses. I will grant authority to my two witnesses, and they will prophesy. Let those words settle gently. Two witnesses, sent, not by themselves, not by human will, but by God, carrying authority, not their own, but given. And they will stand for a time, measured carefully, not random, not uncertain, but exact. 1,260 days, 3.5 years, a span of time that appears again and again, like a quiet pattern woven through prophecy, a season of testimony, a season of truth, being spoken even when the world resists. Breathe slowly now. Imagine them, not as distant figures, but as real, present, standing in the streets of a city filled with noise and movement, dressed, not in wealth, not in power, but in simplicity, in humility, clothed in sackcloth, a symbol of repentance, of mourning, of a message that calls people to return. They do not come to impress. They do not come to rule. They come to speak, and their voices carry, not loud in force, but strong in truth, steady, unwavering, like a bell that continues to ring even when others try to silence it. They are the two olive trees and the two lampstands that stand before the Lord of the earth. Two olive trees, sources of oil, of light, of sustenance, and two lampstands, bearers of light in darkness, not light of their own making, but light given, carried, sustained. Breathe in, slowly, and out, and as they stand, something remarkable becomes clear. They are not unprotected. They are not vulnerable in the way the world expects, because their mission is not yet complete. If anyone would harm them, fire pours from their mouth and consumes their enemies. Fire, not the fire of anger, but the fire of divine authority, the same fire that answered Elijah, the same fire that cannot be controlled, cannot be resisted, a reminder that the one who sent them is still present, still powerful, still watching. No one can stop them, not yet, because their time has not yet come. Breathe slowly now, and the power they carry is not only protection, but demonstration. They have the power to shut the sky, that no rain may fall. The heavens close, just as they once did in the days of Elijah, the sky becoming silent, withholding what the earth depends on, a quiet but undeniable sign that something is not right, that something must change. And they have power over the waters, to turn them into blood, and to strike the earth with plagues. Echoes of another time, the days of Moses, when the world was confronted with truth, not through words alone, but through signs that could not be ignored. The pattern returns, not to destroy, but to awaken. Breathe slowly now, and yet, even with all this, even with power, with signs, with truth spoken clearly, the world does not turn, because the human heart, when it resists, can become still, unmoved, even in the face of what is undeniable. And so, the witnesses continue. Day after day, month after month, year after year, standing, speaking, calling, inviting, not forcing, but offering. Their presence becomes a tension, a disruption, something that cannot be ignored, something that challenges the direction the world has chosen. And many do not want that. Rest here for a moment, because truth, though gentle, can feel heavy, especially when it asks for change. Breathe slowly now, and then something shifts. When they have finished their testimony, finished, not interrupted, not cut short, but completed, every word spoken, every moment fulfilled, exactly as it was meant to be. Only then does what comes next unfold. The beast will make war on them, and conquer them, and kill them. Let that settle, gently, without fear, but with awareness, because even here, nothing is out of control. Not even this. They are not defeated because they are weak. They are not overcome because they failed. They fall because their mission is complete. Breathe slowly now. Their bodies lie in the street, visible, exposed, not hidden, not honored, and the world watches. Every nation, every voice, every place connected, seeing, knowing, witnessing this moment. And something unexpected happens. The world rejoices. They celebrate as though a burden has been lifted, as though silence has finally returned, as though the voices that disturbed them are gone. Gifts are exchanged. Joy is expressed because the truth is no longer speaking. It's rest here for a moment. Feel the weight of that silence. Not peaceful, but empty, like something important has been removed. Breathe slowly now. And then, after 3.5 days, something begins. Not loudly, not with warning, but quietly, like the first breath after stillness. Life returns, a breath from God, entering them, filling them, restoring them. And they stand. Imagine that moment, the stillness breaking, the unexpected becoming real, the finality of death undone. They stand, and fear falls, not as terror, but as realization, as understanding that what they thought was the end was not. Breathe slowly now. A voice calls from heaven, "Come up here." And before the eyes of the world, they rise, lifted, carried, just as Elijah once was, just as Enoch once was, returning, not to defeat, but to completion. Their testimony, sealed, not by silence, but by life. Rest here for a moment, because this is the heart of the vision. Not death, but restoration. Not ending, but fulfillment. Not darkness, but light, breaking through, even at the final moment. Breathe slowly now. And as the vision settles, as the echoes of it soften, there is a quiet reminder. Something steady, something unshaken. That even in the most uncertain moments, even when the world seems to turn away, even when truth is resisted, God is still present, still guiding, still fulfilling every word, exactly as it was spoken. And in that, you can rest. Deeply, peacefully, knowing that nothing, not even the final chapter, is outside His care. Breathe slowly now. Let your breath move gently, in and out, like a quiet tide rising and falling in the night. And as your body sinks deeper into rest, allow your mind to return to that moment, that still and fragile moment where everything seemed to have ended, where the two witnesses, once standing strong, now lay silent beneath the open sky. The city does not sleep. Lights flicker, voices rise. The world is watching, not with sorrow, but with a strange and restless celebration, as though something heavy has finally been removed, as though a long tension has finally broken. They lie there, unmoving, exposed, not hidden away, not given rest, but left in the open, as if to prove a point, as if to declare something final. And the world believes it. It is over. Breathe slowly now. For 3.5 days, time moves forward, slowly, deliberately, each hour settling deeper into certainty, each moment reinforcing what people think they have seen, that these voices, these witnesses, these messengers are gone. Crowds gather. Screens glow. Images spread across the world. Every nation, every language, every corner connected in a single, shared moment. They look, they speak, they react. Some with relief, some with quiet satisfaction, some with laughter that feels hollow, yet continues anyway. Gifts are exchanged, messages sent, as though this moment has become a kind of celebration, a strange and unsettling holiday, marking the silence of truth. Because for many, the voices of the witnesses were not comforting. They were confronting. They spoke of things people did not want to face. They called for change, for turning back, for letting go of what had been embraced. And now, those voices are gone. Rest here for a moment. Feel the weight of that silence, not peaceful, but empty, like something important has been removed, something the world did not fully understand, but resisted nonetheless. Breathe slowly now. The first day passes, then the second, then the third begins to fade. Stillness remains. You. No movement, no breath, no sign of life. And the world settles deeper into its belief that this is the end. But beneath that stillness, something unseen is already beginning. Not loud, not sudden, but quiet, like the faintest stirring before dawn, like a breath forming before it is felt. A breath from God. Breathe slowly now. It does not rush. It does not force. It simply enters, gently, completely, filling what was empty, restoring what was still, and then movement. So small at first, almost unnoticed, a shift, a tremor, something that does not fit the expectation, something that interrupts the certainty of death, and then unmistakable. They rise. The two witnesses who had fallen, who had lain, silent, now stand, alive, fully, undeniably alive. Breathe slowly now. Imagine that moment, the shift in the air, the sudden silence that replaces celebration, the realization spreading, slowly at first, then all at once. This was not the end. What was believed to be final was not final. What was thought to be complete was not complete. And something deeper begins to settle over those who watch. Not chaos, not noise, but a quiet, overwhelming awareness. Fear. Not just fear of what has happened, but fear of what it means. Fear of something greater, something beyond control, something that cannot be explained away. They stand, not weakened, not broken, but restored, as though death itself had no authority, no power to hold them. Because the life given to them does not come from the world. It comes from God. Rest here for a moment. Let that truth settle gently, like a calm presence moving through your thoughts. Breathe slowly now. The same voices that once spoke now stand again. Not to continue, not to repeat, but to complete, to fulfill what was always meant to happen. And then a voice, clear, unmistakable, not from the earth, but from above. Come up here. A simple call. No force, no urgency, just invitation. And they respond. Before the eyes of the world, they rise, lifted, carried, just as before, just as Enoch was taken, just as Elijah was carried. The same pattern, the same gentle authority, unfolding once again, upward, beyond the reach of those who watch, beyond the limits of what can be held, returning, not in defeat, but in completion. Breathe slowly now, and the world can only watch. No stopping it, no changing it, no denying what has just been seen. The silence that follows is different now. Not empty, but filled with realization, with understanding that something has occurred that cannot be undone, something that has shifted the story in a way no one can ignore. And then the ground itself responds, a tremor, then a shaking. An earthquake moving through the city, not random, not meaningless, but part of the unfolding, part of the response, part of the moment. Structures fall, the earth moves, and lives are changed in an instant. And those who remain, those who witness, those who stand in the aftermath, begin to understand. Not fully, not completely, but enough. Enough to see that this was not ordinary. Enough to know that something greater is at work. Enough to recognize that the voice they resisted was not just a voice, but a truth. And in that realization, something shifts. Not everywhere, not in everyone, but in some, there is a turning, a quiet acknowledgement, a recognition that the God they had ignored is still present, still real, still sovereign. Breathe slowly now. This is not only a moment of power, it is a moment of revelation, a moment where what was hidden becomes visible, where what was denied can no longer be denied. The two witnesses are gone from sight, but their testimony remains. Not only in words, but in what has been seen, in what has been experienced, in what cannot be forgotten. Rest here for a moment, because even in this, there is peace, not in the chaos, not in the shaking, but in the truth that holds everything together, the quiet assurance that nothing, not even death, has the final word. Breathe slowly now. And as the scene begins to soften, as the intensity fades into stillness, allow your heart to rest in this gentle understanding that endings are not always endings, that what appears to be lost may be restored, that even in the darkest moment, there is a breath, waiting, ready, able to bring life again. The same God who breathed life into the witnesses, the same God who raised them, the same God who called them home. He is still present, still near, still watching over every moment, even now, even here, in the quiet stillness where you rest. And in that presence, there is no fear, only peace. Breathe slowly now. And rest. Breathe slowly now. Let your breath move gently, deeper, softer, as though each inhale is carrying you further into stillness, and each exhale is releasing the weight of everything you no longer need to hold. And as your body settles, allow your mind to move carefully into this next part of the story, not with fear, but with calm awareness, because even here, even in the darkest chapter, there is a quiet truth that remains unshaken. There is a time spoken of long ago, a time that has not yet fully come, and yet it has already been written. A time called the Great Tribulation. Breathe slowly now. It is not a moment, not a single event, but a season, a period where the world begins to shift, where what once seemed stable begins to tremble, where the surface of things no longer holds, and deeper realities begin to emerge. Imagine the world, not as it is now, but as it will be then, filled with movement, with voices, with systems and structures that appear strong, yet beneath them, something fragile, something ready to give way. At first, it does not feel like darkness. It feels like peace, a strange, unexpected peace. A leader rises, calm, confident, carrying words that seem to solve what others could not, bringing agreement where there was division, unity where there was conflict, and the world, tired, weary, longing for stability, begins to trust. Breathe slowly now. This figure is not immediately recognized for what he is, because deception rarely announces itself. It arrives, gently, convincingly, appearing as something good, something needed. The world listens. Agreements are made, promises spoken, systems built, and for a time, it feels as though everything is coming together. But this peace is not what it seems. It is temporary, fragile, like a surface that hides what lies beneath. And then, slowly, everything begins to change. Rest here for a moment, because this shift does not happen all at once. It unfolds, step by step, quietly, until it can no longer be ignored. Breathe slowly now. The one who brought peace begins to reveal something else, something hidden, something darker. Authority grows, control increases. and what was once offered freely begins to be required. Voices that question begin to disappear. Truth becomes unwelcome, and the world begins to divide, not by borders, not by language, but by something deeper, by allegiance. Breathe in, slowly, and out. A system emerges, not just political, not just economic, but something that reaches into daily life, into choices, into survival itself. A mark, a sign, something that determines who can participate and who cannot. Without it, life becomes difficult. With it comes acceptance, access, security, calm, and so many choose, not out of malice, but out of fear, out of necessity, out of the quiet pressure of a world that has shifted around them. And yet, beneath that choice, there is something deeper, something unseen, something spiritual, a turning, a direction, a path chosen, whether fully understood or not. Breathe slowly now. This is where the darkness deepens, not in chaos alone, but in deception, in the quiet blending of truth and falsehood, until it becomes difficult to tell them apart. But even here, even in this, God has not stepped away. He has not gone silent. Because in the midst of this time, voices remain. Not many, not loud in number, but clear, steady, unshaken. The two witnesses, standing, speaking, calling, just as they were sent to do. And beyond them, others, scattered, hidden, faithful, holding on to truth, even when it costs them everything. Rest here for a moment. Feel the contrast, not as fear, but as clarity, light and darkness, truth and deception, existing side by side, each asking for a response. Breathe slowly now. The world grows heavier, tension rises, conflict increases, not always visible, but present, like a pressure building beneath the surface. And yet, within that, there is still opportunity. Opportunity to turn, opportunity to see, opportunity to choose differently. Because even in the darkest times, God does not remove the possibility of return. He continues to call, gently, persistently, through every voice, every moment, every sign. But many do not listen. Not because they cannot, but because they do not want to. And so, the darkness continues to deepen. Rest here for a moment. Let your breath remain steady, calm, unaffected, because this story, though it moves through difficult places, is still held, still guided, still unfolding, according to a purpose that cannot be broken. Breathe slowly now. There will be hardship. Yes. There will be fear. Yes. There will be moments where it seems as though darkness has taken hold, but even then, it is not complete. It is not final. Because above all of it, beyond all of it, there is still a greater reality, a greater authority, a greater truth. God remains unchanged, unshaken, unmoved, and every moment, even the hardest ones, are still within His sight, still within His plan, still moving toward an ending that has already been written. Breathe slowly now. The Great Tribulation, though heavy in name, is not the end of the story. It is a passage, a refining, a revealing, a moment where what is hidden becomes visible, where choices become clear, where truth stands, even when resisted. And within that, there is something quietly comforting, because it reminds us that even when the world feels uncertain, even when systems shift, even when voices change, the foundation beneath it all does not move. God is still there. Rest here for a moment. Let that truth settle deeply, like a calm presence beneath every thought, beneath every fear, beneath every question. Breathe slowly now. And as you continue to rest, allow the weight of this part of the story to soften, not disappear, but settle, held within something greater, something steady, something filled with peace. Because even in the Great Tribulation, even in the darkest hour, light has not gone out. It remains quiet, steady, unbreakable. And that light still reaches you, even now, in this moment, as you rest, safe, held, and never alone. Breathe slowly now. Let your breath soften even more, slower, deeper, as though each inhale is gently carrying you into peace, and each exhale is releasing the last traces of the story, allowing everything you have heard, everything you have imagined, to settle quietly within you. The journey we have taken tonight, from the ancient days of Enoch to the fire of Elijah, through prophecy, through vision, through the unfolding of things yet to come, now begins to come to rest. Not with noise, not with urgency, but with stillness. Rest here for a moment, because beneath every part of this story, every mystery, every moment of darkness, every rise and fall, there has always been one quiet truth, steady, unchanging, present from beginning to end. God is in control. Not once has his plan failed. Not once has his presence faded. Not once has a single moment slipped beyond his care. Breathe slowly now. Even when the world grows uncertain, even when voices rise and fall, even when darkness seems to deepen, he remains, watching, guiding, holding every thread of the story with a gentleness that never forces and a power that never fails. And as you rest here, in this quiet moment, you are not outside of that care. You are within it, seen, known, held. There is nothing you need to fix, nothing you need to carry, nothing you need to understand fully tonight. You can simply rest, because the same God who walked with Enoch, the same God who answered Elijah with fire, the same God who sustains even the final moments of history, he is watching over you now. Breathe slowly now. Let your thoughts grow softer, like distant echoes fading into silence. Let your body sink deeper, supported, safe, at ease. And as you drift closer to sleep, allow this quiet prayer to settle gently over you. May your heart be at peace. May your mind be still. May every worry loosen its hold and fade into rest. May you feel the presence of God, not as something distant, but as something near, surrounding you, like a gentle covering in the night. May his peace fill every quiet space within you. And may his love remain steady, constant, through every breath. Breathe slowly now. In Jesus' loving name, amen. May you rest in Christ always. And as you continue to rest, as sleep begins to come, gently, naturally, without effort. Let this story remain with you, not in detail, but in feeling, in peace, in quiet assurance. And if your mind stirs again in the night, if thoughts begin to rise, you can return here. Let us return once more to this peaceful story, to the quiet walk, the gentle presence, the steady truth that you are never alone. Breathe slowly now and rest.